Alrighty, boys. Here comes the video. We're going to be watching 7 insane tips I wish I knew before playing hardcore WoW. Video is by Calamity, a great member of the hardcore WoW community. So, let's learn a little bit more about classic World of Warcraft hardcore. Let's do it.
Hello gamers! Today, we'll be covering 7 things I wish I knew before starting hardcore WoW. These are mostly niche or lesser known game mechanics, as well as some life lessons that usually won't set in until they get you killed. Hopefully, me teaching you them now will save you a few painful deaths later. I hope you enjoy. Number 1, mob leashing. This is a mechanic a lot of people are aware of and know it exists, but they aren't exactly sure how it works. So, what is mob leashing and how does it work? When you hit a mob in the open world, it chases you for a certain amount of time before the leash breaks and returns to its spawn location. This timer can roughly be formalized as 9 seconds, plus 1 second for every 10 levels the mob has. So a level 30 mob would leash for around 12 seconds. This isn't a perfect formula, and we're still trying to figure out the exact formula to this day, but it's a good rule of thumb. However, this formula gets complicated because if the mob takes any damage, or if it stands still for at least 1.5 seconds, the leash timer resets from 0. This means if you stop to heal, the mob's timer will reset because you stood still to heal, and it will continue chasing you. Only stop to heal if it will get you to an evade spot safely, or if your cast is faster than 1.5 seconds. Additionally, a bonus mechanic for hunters, warlocks, and anyone in a duo or trio. Every person on the threat table has their own leash timer queued after yours. This means as a hunter, if you hit a target and your pet hits a target, it will follow you for your leash timer and then follow your pet for the leash timer as well, essentially giving pet classes twice as long leash timers. This affects other players as well, so duos and trios can chain mobs for very long periods of time. These are the basics of leashing. Unfortunately, understanding it fully requires its own video, as it is very in-depth and requires a lot of if and or situations being explained.
Still a little bit confused.
I'm currently working on a video for this. If you're viewing this from the future and the video is out, I'll have an annotation on the top right-hand side of the screen.
Nice.
One thing I really wish I knew before I started playing hardcore was knowing what mobs are scary or can catch you off guard. There are a lot of mobs that roam the world and are extremely dangerous, and you may not know they're there until it's too late. There's also mobs that have dangerous abilities you may not be ready for. Unit Scan is an add-on where you can import a list of mobs, and it will alert you very loudly if one is nearby. By itself, not so useful, as you would need to know what mobs to worry about ahead of time, and then add them to your list. However, I got you. I've curated a list of all the notable mobs in Azeroth and have them listed in a file in the description down below. After you import my file, if you hear an alert, be on your toes. It means a dangerous mob is nearby. To install it, simply download Unit Scan and save my file somewhere you won't forget it. Head over to your classic era directory, then the WTF folder, and then your saved variables for any accounts you're going to use this add-on on. Here, you can see the normal Unit Scan file. I've added stitches to it as an example. However, if we override it with my file, you get all of these dangerous mobs. Most of these are roaming elites or rares that are very high level for their area, or normal mobs with very dangerous abilities. I know this looks like a lot of mobs, but there are genuinely that many dangerous ones. I hope this helps. Number 3.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Parry hasting is what happens when you or an enemy parry an attack. Your next swing timer is sped up considerably. As a player, this is great because when you parry an attack, it's a DPS increase, especially for classes like Paladin and Warrior, who typically use slow weapons and benefit greatly from a flat speed increase. However, enemies benefit from this as well. Fighting something like an ogre with a two-handed mace, or a demon with a large two-handed sword, if they parry your attack, their next attack's going to hit much faster and potentially catch you off guard. When fighting two-handed mobs,
didn't know that.
Always be aware that they may do damage quicker than you expect because of parry haste, and have your finger over your potion key.
That's such a great way to
We see the demon parry Shobek right after swinging, speeding up his next attack, and then Shobek gets parried again, essentially making him get autoed immediately afterwards, for a second time. Parry haste can be deadly. Bind interact to left click. This one is primarily an anti-griefing tip, but it does have uses in the base game as well, especially when in neutral cities. Having interact and attack both bound to right-click can lead to some accidental situations where you attack something you don't mean to. Let's say, for example, you're a Horde main playing Alliance for once. You instinctively go to the Horde Flight Master in Booty Bay and try to get the flight path. Because you're Alliance, you would attack the Flight Master normally, unless interact is on left click. This also helps you not be griefed like Savix by clicking on Horde players standing on quest givers.
Rough.
Number 5, split pulling. This goes a little hand in hand with mob leashing, and is one of the many reasons that the topic needs its own video, but this is too important to not include here. When you aggro a mob, it does a cry for help that aggroes nearby enemies and ties them to its leash timer. So, if you hit one, it resets the leash on all of them because they are tied together. This can be circumvented by hitting all the mobs at once, not giving them an opportunity to be affected by the call for help. When you hit every mob at once, they will all be on a separate leash timer, allowing you to single out mobs and the rest will reset normally. Most classes have some way to split pull anything that damages multiple enemies at once. If your class doesn't have an AoE ability, there are quest rewards like explosive rockets and flash bundles that you can save to simulate a split pull. In the absolute worst case, you can use your own body to split pull as well. As long as you aggro the mobs before they do their call for help, you will still do a split pull. Here is a quick clip showing me split pulling princess versus not split pulling princess, just to clarify any confusion on the mechanic.
So the call for help puts everybody on the same timer. But if you just run up there and get them, then princess.
Number 6,
okay.
Z-axis.
That makes sense.
This term refers to the third axis in a three-dimensional structure. As World of Warcraft is a three-dimensional game, it has a Z-axis. A quick TLDR is Y-axis is the vertical axis, X-axis is the horizontal axis, and Z-axis is where your depth is relative to the rest of the space in the game. Unfortunately, World of Warcraft checks its X-axis when dealing with melee range attacks, no other axis. This means if a monster is above you on the Z-axis, but is within 5 yards of you on the X-axis, it can still hit you. You must keep this in mind anytime you're in a structure, such as a ruined keep, a stairwell, or a tower, and plan ahead for the monster damaging you while it's above you. It's a little bullshit, but if you are aware of it, you can at least mitigate the damage and prepare for it. Number 7. It may not look like a cave, but it's a cave. This is more of a mindset tip. I was debating adding caves are deadly, be careful in caves as a tip, but it's such a well-known thing that caves are deadly in hardcore. It felt unfair to add it. So, if you didn't know caves were deadly, congrats, you got a bonus tip. The real tip is, a lot of places in the world are caves, even if they don't look like it. Think about your escape routes before entering a new area. If the area you're in isn't technically a cave, but when you stop to think about it, you only have 1 or 2 ways out, and it's through lots of mobs, you're still in a cave. I consider the Troll Ruins in Stranglethorn Vale a cave, because once you're in here, as you see on the screen, you basically have to fight your way out. The city in Desolace is also a cave, the pirates in Daenerys are a cave. There are so many mobs here, and it's very hard to run away without pulling more. There are a lot of places like this in the game. Just stay on your toes and be mindful of your escape routes.
Dead Mines is a cave.
So those are my 7 things I wish I knew. I hope at least one of them was helpful for you. If it was, consider blessing me with a click of the like button. It's the best metric I have that you guys want more of this kind of content. If you have questions or want to talk hardcore, I stream pretty regularly, and I'll have my Twitch down in the description down below. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video.
Give the like.
Toodles.
Sweet. All right. Let's actually see if she's. Ooh, let's subscribe as well. Let's see if she's streaming. That was a great video, boys.
Hello, gamers. Today we'll be covering 7 things.
Follow Calamity. Calamity on YouTube.